Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Israel Brief, brought to you by Lay of the Land. I'm Raylene Marks, bringing you the top stories from Israel and surrounds every Monday to Thursday on this platform and also on our YouTube channel. And guess what? You can as well by simply clicking on the big red subscribe button. You can help tell Israel's side of the story. For the last couple of weeks, we've been talking about the incredible relationship that is growing between the United Arab Emirates and the State of Israel following the signing of the Abraham Accords. Now, the goodwill is spreading. Just at the end of last week, Saudi Arabia announced that they will allow their airspace to be used for the direct commercial flights between the two countries, and Bahrain have also extended this invitation. But we had some good news coming from two Balkan countries, Kosovo and Serbia. On Friday night, it was announced that the mostly Muslim majority country of Kosovo will now recognize the State of Israel and begin formal diplomatic relations. And they will do this by establishing their embassy in Jerusalem, Israel's capital. Serbia also announced that they would be moving their embassy to Jerusalem, another great sign of normalization, recognition coming from the Balkan states. And if we thought this wasn't or couldn't get any better, some good news coming from Malawi yesterday with their president announcing that he will be opening a diplomatic mission in Jerusalem. This will make Malawi the first African state to do so. It was also announced that Scoop Shoes, and I believe that everything can be solved with shoes, an Israeli shoe company will be opening 5 stores across the UAE, and a delegation made up of Bank Hapoalim and other financial institutions from Israel will be traveling to the UAE shortly. And as of next month, Israel will be flying directly between Tel Aviv and Dubai, and you can book your ticket starting now. Great news indeed. But where there is not so great news, that is the global pandemic, the coronavirus crisis, and how it is impacting Israel. Israel right now has the dubious honor of having the highest infection rate in the world, and this of course has created a lot of debate and a lot of frustration, both within the government and within citizens. It was announced last week that the government would lock down 30 cities that had very, very high infection rates, and these areas were predominantly ultra-Orthodox or Arab. And it was announced after some very, very heated remarks coming from the ultra-Orthodox community, some of the mayors saying that the government had not consulted with them. Yesterday it was announced that instead of having lockdowns, some 40 now cities will be going into nightly curfew, and we're still waiting for that list of cities to be announced. Avigdor Lieberman, the head of the Israel Beiteinu party, just moments ago announced that people should use common sense instead of following government directions. And of course, this will create a lot of tension. The coronavirus czar, known as Professor Ronnie Gamsu, who is heading up the crisis for Israel, has said that he is dreading the high holy days if there is no kind of lockdown. The Minister of the Interior, Aria Deri, has recommended that we go into national lockdown as we approach these high holy days, which begin Friday next week. However, businesses and even hospitals and healthcare professionals have objected very, very strongly to this. Meanwhile, Israel's infection rates and our mortality rate still remain very, very high. And on to the last story of today, and the murderer who was responsible for the stabbing that killed Rabbi Shai Ohayon, a 39-year-old father of 4 in Petach Tikva, was indicted earlier today on murder charges. 46-year-old Khalil Abd al-Khalik Dwikat confessed to investigators, and the investigators who are working on this case said he showed absolutely no remorse for the killing or any empathy towards Ohayon's family. And we will be following this case as it unfolds. Those are the top stories making headlines. Israel is still enduring a extreme heat wave, very, very hot for this time of the year. And many of us have taken indoors, not just to responsibly social distance, but to stay out of the heat. And if you're staying out of the heat, why not check out our original content? And you can do so by following our website at www.layoftheland.online. You can read Bev Price's article all about how the JNF in South Africa has heard the cries from very, very vulnerable communities and are helping them with feeding schemes. You can also check it out on our Facebook page at Lottle Site. Give us a like, give us a follow. Don't forget to be a great news disseminator by subscribing to our YouTube channel at The Israel Brief, and also interact with us on Twitter. We are very active there, and you can find us at Lay of the Land with the digit 5. So with the Monday edition of The Israel Brief, I'm Rolene Marks, and we'll chat again tomorrow.